everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today we have issue number 16 for you, The Riddler, and this is a fun one. I like the figure. I'm not crazy about it. It's a nice figure. It's a great representation of the character, but we'll cover that when we get to the actual figure. I do like Riddler, though. He's one of my favorite Batman characters. If you're a Batman fan, I think this is a definite must-have in the collection. Anyway, we're going to go right into this one, starting with the magazine, which will give you everything you need to know about the character. And there's some really nice artwork in this one, too. Him in a lot of his various costumes. He's had quite a few, actually. And then we'll cover the figure itself, taking a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you very much for tuning in once again, ladies and gentlemen. And here we go, with the DC Comics Superhero Collection, issue number 16, The Riddler. First, we have the character section, telling us everything we need to know about the Riddler. Born Edward Nashton, he's different from most of Batman's villains in that he had a pretty normal childhood. He lived with his father. His parents were divorced, but it wasn't anything awful. He was a really smart kid, did well in school, and fell in love with puzzles during one of his classes. But from then on, he was obsessed with puzzles and solving them, and always being smarter than everyone else. So, bored of the carnival lifestyle, Eddie moved to Gotham City, where he changed his name, adopting the alias Edward Nigma, or E-Nigma, haha. And he decided that if idiots like the Penguin and the Joker could become these big-time criminal bosses who are rich in Gotham City, then, hey, I'm smarter than any of them, I can do it too. And after that first encounter with Batman, he became obsessed. He became obsessed with finding out who the Batman was and proving once and for all that he was smarter than Batman, that he could outthink him. And to do that, to prove that to people, he left clues at the crime scenes, sort of baiting Batman and the cops to, come after me, see if you can figure out what I'm going to do next. He's the only criminal in Gotham's rogues gallery that does that. It also touches briefly upon a few instances where the Riddler actually ventured outside of Gotham City, heading to the likes of Star City, Keystone, Fawcett, many, many others. It also touches briefly on the only two sort of gang members, I guess you could say, the Riddler's ever really had, his sidekicks Query and Echo. We also learn about the time that the Riddler was diagnosed with cancer by a one Dr. Thomas Elliot, and how the Riddler managed to track down one of Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus pits in a desperate attempt to stay alive. It also goes into great detail about the Hush storyline, because Riddler was a major part of that. He teamed up with this new villain called Hush, who was actually a childhood friend of Batman's, who figured out that Bruce and Batman were the same person and decided to ruin his life, basically. A short time after this, Riddler was released from Arkham Asylum yet again, and found himself actually being hunted and stalked by Hush. The last couple of pages catch us up with where the Riddler is now, at least at the time of this publication, where we find he suffers a head injury from another character named the Shining Knight. He gets hit over the head with Shining Knight's mace and ends up with amnesia. He forgets who Batman is and actually decides to turn over a new leaf and becomes a private investigator in Gotham City who is hell-bent on proving that he's a better detective than Batman is. Next up, we have some of the Riddler's classic storylines. First up, we have Batman Hush. And this story is arguably the Riddler's finest hour. It sees him discovering Batman's secret identity, teaming up with this deadly new villain calling himself Hush, who is actually a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's who's turned villain. And together, Riddler and Hush just wreak havoc on Bruce's life. They totally turn it upside down. And this story helped change people's perception of the Riddler from this silly, goofy sort of, riddle me this character to becoming a much more deadly, manipulative, threateningly scary villain. It's a great, great, great read. You should definitely check it out. Next, we have Batman Hush Returns. And this story is just that. It sees Hush returning and stalking the Riddler, driving him crazy because he blames the Riddler for losing the fight against Batman. And while it does portray the Riddler as a slightly weaker character in this storyline than he was in the Hush storyline, it does portray him as a bit more three-dimensional because he's desperate. He's running to stay alive. He even tries to make deals with the Joker and Penguin for his life. So it's an excellent little story. Finally, we have Batman Dark Knight, Dark City. And this story is extremely unique and very dark. This actually finds him working with demonic forces, and he actually attempts to sacrifice Batman to them at one point. He is nothing but pure evil in this story. It's actually really, really creepy, and it's also interesting to note that the covers to this three-part storyline were done by Mike Mignola, who's the creator of Hellboy. Next, we have the Riddler's Allies and Enemies section, and on the first page we have two of his fellow detectives there. And the next page is a pretty good mix of ally and enemy with a really nice picture there of Joker. The Riddler's iconography section is entitled Riddle Me This, and what it is it's just a fun look back at some of the classic and most well-known riddle-themed crimes that Bob Kane and Bill Finger cooked up for the character when they first introduced him. Finally, the original thinking section continues the DC timeline with Part 7, The New World. This section basically talks about what happened after the fall of Atlantis. It sees the Homo Magi suffering great losses and losing their power slowly over time, basically. It talks briefly about one of the heroes from that time period, who was known as Wind. And it also talks about how the scattered Atlanteans went off around the world and found new homes and created these cities, oftentimes in remote locations that were not easily discovered. And here is the Riddler. I like this figure. I like him. I don't love him, but I like him. It's a really faithful interpretation of the character, I think. I like the fact that they put him in his business suit costume, as opposed to the, question mark covered spandex costume with the simple mask. I much prefer this interpretation with the little bowler and everything. And I love the pose. It's one of the classic drawings that's out there of the Riddler with his cane. Love that they gave him the cane as well. And it's just really nice, but it's nothing too fantastic. It's just a really nice Riddler, you know, as he should be. There's the wrinkles are nice little details. The green is nice. It's not a really hot green. It's a nice, I'd almost call it like a shamrock kind of green. It's really cool. And then deep, deep purple. His shoes are nice as well. They're, you know, nice glossy black with those gold buckles. Really, really cool. It's kind of hard to see on this, I'm sure, but he does have a question mark. Yeah, you can kind of see it on the tie there in green, which is really nice. And I like that they went with a purple tie as opposed to like a black tie from the drawings. I think this is much nicer. Love the little smirk on his face. And the cane is a separate piece. It's totally removable. So that's one thing to watch out for, though. You want to be careful of that. And you can put it in, you know, facing either way. Gotta get it in. There we go. And yeah, anyway, we'll have some more pictures. It's a nice figure, though. I do like it. Like it, don't love. But some more pictures here in just a second. The Riddler stands atop the DC logo, and on the underside of his base is his name in multiple languages, along with the serial number for the character. And for the fun of it, I took a couple pictures alongside the Dark Knight. And just because there are so many of them, along with the rest of Batman's rogues gallery thus far. So the Riddler is a really nice figure. He really is, and he is a must-have for Batman fans. But I don't necessarily feel he's a must-have for this collection unless you're hardcore and crazy like I am. I really like him, though. He is a perfect representation of the character. I love the pose. I love the costume choice. I'm so glad he's not in that spandex suit. Love that they added the cane and the bowler hat and all that good stuff. The smirk on his face is great. He's just, you know, he's not an awesome figure like I would consider Lex Luthor or Scarecrow or Joker. He's not at that caliber, you know. He's a more simple figure, but that's not to say he's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I have a new level of awesome when it comes to these figures since the Scarecrow. But he is really, really nice. I love all the little details. Let's see, the good. I love the smirk on his face. I love the pose. I love the sculpt. I love the color choice. The green is great. It's not too hot a green. It's a nice, deep, like I said, shamrock green. It's perfect. Same thing goes for the purple. Love the mask, that he's wearing it. I like the cane, that it's a separate piece, and it's this nice metallic gold. It's really sharp. I love that he's got the question mark on the tie, too. It's really nice, and again, not a decal. The bad, you know, he's just simple, I guess, when you really look at him. He's not an ugly figure at all. He's a really nice figure, but again, not necessarily essential unless you're into getting every figure or you're a big Batman fan and you want all the Batman-related characters. The ugly, nothing on the figure really, except you gotta watch out for that cane. It is very fragile. It's easily bent, easily broken. The paint is also easy to chip off of it, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, watch out when taking it out of the package, because I've heard of a lot of people breaking and getting it out of that blister. I really do like him overall. Don't get me wrong, please. I hope it doesn't sound like I don't like this figure. I really, really do. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this. Please stay tuned for a quick teaser of the next figure. We're doing another of the special editions, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time. Special edition figure number 2. And this figure is why they are special editions. Darkseid was nice, but he was a little disappointing because he was sort of simple. This one more than makes up for it, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. I am your host, the Monkey Boy. We'll see you next issue.